Pocket Party Podcast. It's my favorite podcast. The Pocket Party Podcast. It's my favorite.
Everybody listen to Darren Carter. I know that he's the party starter. So if you want to listen to a podcast for free, listen to our Pocket Party. Pocket Party.
Oh yeah, baby. So let's start that party in your ear holes.
And we're back. Hey, everybody. It's your host, Darren Carter, the party starter. Do us a favor, please, right now. Do it right now while you're thinking about it. Go to iTunes, give it 5 stars and a review. Just a little review. Just a little, hey, I like the podcast. It makes my day. I enjoyed episode 278, which is right now with Mr. Mike Black.
Hello.
Hello, Mike Black. How are you, my friend?
I am wonderful. I am
Yeah.
on top of the world.
That's right. Let me just tell you, I've had some great episodes recently, and it's great to have you back on because the other episodes are. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm not jealous at all. And I think it's healthy that you're seeing other guests. And
Yeah.
I'm pro you exploring and, finding what you need in the world. I'm not upset at all. And, I hope they're happy and living fulfilling lives.
So you're cool that we see other guests and you see other podcasts.
I'm very European about you seeing other guests.
Yeah.
I think Europeans have the right idea. See all the guests you want. Just don't come back to me with a bunch of diseases. That's all I ask.
Gosh, a bunch of diseases. Well, guest number 276. You're not going to believe this, Mike. They give us a. Yeah.
I don't want you catching any guest-transmitted diseases.
Well, I do wear earphones, and I do put a screensaver thing over the microphone.
Yeah. It's important to use a safe word, too, like barnacle. Something like that, but it has nothing to do. I would just, from now on, when a guest's not being funny, or not being interesting, just say barnacle, and they'll be like, what are you doing?
Barnacle Bill. I'm Barnacle Bill the sailor.
That'll clear it right up, and they'll go, oh, he's not into it.
He's not into it. He's let's stop the podcast and just the guest will just know.
Did you ever see that movie Euro Trip?
No.
It was like a funny college road movie about these kids go on a trip to Europe, and one of them who's kind of more sex obsessed goes to this club in Germany. And he's like, yeah, I want to go to a sexy S&M dungeon. And he gets in there, and the lady who runs it hands him this piece of paper, and she says, this is the safe word. If you say this word, whatever we're doing, we will immediately stop. And so he's like, okay, I'm not going to need it, whatever. And he, he puts it in his pocket. And they start doing all sorts of crazy stuff. And you see one of those wind-up monkeys that has the symbols. Yeah. And it's going crazy. Yeah. And he's like, oh, it's too much. And he pulls out the safe word and unfolds it. And it's super, super long and in German.
Oh, no.
And he's like, oh, no. And he's trying to say it and it's not working.
Der Wiener Schnitzel, der Wiener Schnitzel.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're like, whatever he says, they stop for a second. Yeah. And they go, did you say Farvignugen Schlagenstiegen? And he's like, yes, do that. And they're like, okay. And they start getting out these power tools and stuff. And he's like, no, that's not what I meant. And you just see that monkey just going crazier and crazier. It's a hilarious movie if you ever get a chance to see it.
That's funny. Right. And as you're saying this, I'm thinking, how many German words do I know?
Right.
Right? I'm like, der Wiener Schnitzel, Dankeschön, Volkswagen.
It's funny. And what little I know about Germany outside of, World War II and stuff like that.
And Hogan's Heroes.
Which ties right in, is they're very big fans of obscure sort of things like David Hasselhoff. Like, they like Knight Rider, but they love David Hasselhoff.
Yeah.
And he makes like a healthy living just going and touring Germany in concert and stuff like that.
We had a couple of German foreign exchange students when I was in high school. And they were
same here. Yeah.
You did? They were so cool. Like, the girl was really cool. She was from Munster, Germany, and I used to make her laugh. And I remember when I signed her yearbook, she thought this was so funny. I took my glasses off and traced my glasses, and then signed my autograph inside where the lenses would be. And she just thought,
that's really cool.
She thought that was so cool. She was like, "Daddy, you're so funny. You're so ha ha." And then I remember showing her that song "Crocodile Rock." Elton John.
Oh yeah.
She'd never heard that song, and she's like, "This is such a good song, Crocodile Rock. Me and Susie had so much fun." It's like this upbeat kind of, and then we had a male foreign exchange student. His name was Sebastian. Shout out to him if he's listening, Sebastian Schipper. And he was really cool. He used to wear this blue and white striped shirt, and like almost like the Hamburglar. And I remember thinking, like, man, I want a shirt like that. And eventually I did get one like that. And I was like, I'm like Sebastian Schipper. And
no one knew who the hell that was.
Exactly. I got it. And I worked at the time. I worked for the school newspaper. I was in the journalism class, and I interviewed him. He was on the track team, and I remember, here's where I learned a valuable lesson. I was interviewing him, and I wrote the article, and I thought, this needs some punching up. It's a little bit drab. It's kind of boring. So then I made up a fake.
If I throw some lies in here.
What'd you say?
What if I throw a few lies in here?
Exactly. I go, and he tried out for the Olympics in Munich, or whatever I said. He tried out, I don't know if I said Munich, but I said he tried out for the Olympics, and and I thought it was great, right? Like, right. Oh yeah, this article really pops now. Ta-da! Yeah. And then when it came out, he was so, what do you think? You think he was happy or pissed?
Very pissed off.
Yeah. He's like, what are you doing? This makes me look like I'm full of shit, like I'm lying, like I'm trying out for the Olympics. I go, I know, but I thought the article looks better. And he's like, no, you got to take it back. We have to. So
it get very intense when they're yelling at you.
Oh yeah, exactly. And plus, I knew I was in the wrong. I was like, I thought I was doing right. I thought I was, embellishing and making it, boy, this newspaper's gonna fly off the rack.
What the hell is wrong with you? Nine.
I was never in the Olympics. I'm in high school. I'm like,
it doesn't even make sense now.
Hey, don't forget, I've got a dusty past. I'm one of the Poison Boys.
There's I'm pretty sure he's German, but there's a guy who tears tickets at the movie theater that I go to, who's kind of retired, and it's one of those like retiree sort of jobs,
Yeah.
And every time he tears he's like an old film snob, kind of. Every time he tears my ticket, he reads it first, and he goes, "What masterpiece are you seeing today?"
That's hilarious.
It doesn't matter what it is; it's the wrong answer. I know with him.
Yeah.
This movie is terrible. I hate it.
Yeah, he's like, somehow I wish I was working at an art house showing real films, but here I am at the AMC Burbank.
And I was like, this is probably as friendly as he gets. Him joking, like roasting whatever movie I'm going to see.
Masterpiece, Mario Brothers.
And the exchange students we had in my school were both girls, and they were both super hot punk rock girls. And one of them was brunette, and one of them had dyed her hair. It was red, but she had dyed it kind of auburn. And they both were just super sexy, but everyone was intimidated by them. So, like, they were in America for like a year, and nobody in Colorado would date them. And so they were just like these lonely, hot German girls.
Yeah.
It was so funny. Like, I got into a conversation with one of them And that year, they had made a big snack that was in the world. They were called toaster strudels. Do you remember those?
Oh yeah.
And I was like, uh, I had brought one from home, and I was like, "Are these close to like what you guys have?" And the one with the auburn hair goes, "Strudel is like slang in Germany." And I was like, "Oh, it doesn't mean frosting." And she goes, "It kind of does, but like man frosting." And I was
Ooh.
like,
Oh.
that's hilarious."
Oh, that's funny.
And just that conversation with her was the closest to sex I had had in high school. Yeah, I was like, I have to go home now. It was nice talking to you. I'll see you later.
Toaster strudel.
Yeah. My parents are like, "You're home early." I'm like, "I don't have time to talk. I got to go to my room."
Yeah. That's hilarious, man. I want to talk about this. Okay, so it's great. Number one, what I was about to say is it's great to have you back on the podcast. I did 3 other episodes, and I'm going to tell you, one of them was really, it was very, first of all, I loved every episode, but it was definitely difficult. The first one, I drove across town, brought my camera. It's on camera. People can see it on YouTube. It was awesome. I got to take a tour of his backyard. It was Daniel Lobel, and he had roosters, chickens, tortoises. It was great, and he's credited with having the first comedy podcast.
Wow.
Mark Maron gave him that shout out, and he's been on Gilbert Gottfried's podcast. He's interviewed everybody from like Jackie Mason, like just all these celebrities, George Carlin, and
Right.
I guess he started in college in New York City, and so
you're saying he'll be calling eventually.
Yeah.
He'll want to interview me.
No, yeah. I'll be calling him every week. No, but but what I'm saying is, it was great. It was great to go do that, but it was definitely a lot of difficulty. Like, you're in traffic, you're going there, you're filming, and then you got to sync the sound. And so level of difficulty and pain in my butt was very high, but it was awesome. And it feels good. You get it out there.
Right.
Boom.
It's weird when you're like on your way to a space to set up and you're like, I don't know if they're going to have what I need there. And,
yeah. I'm like, are you sure you have electrical outlets, and all that. So we had all that, and we where do we put the camera? And then there was construction at one point. And I'm like, I hope it dies down so it doesn't overtake the. Luckily, they took a break, and
you get catcalled while you were trying to set up. Hey, sexy, what are you doing down there?
I know. And then he had roosters, which is kind of cool. I had the ambiance because it's like you're hearing all that and the background, and it sounded like we were on some farm, which was kind of nice for me. I like my bumpkin activities. And
well, yes, and you used to be called Rooster. Didn't you?
Exactly, I was. What's up, Gaio? It's the red-headed rooster. Yeah. So I'm a rooster. There's rooster. I even played it for my son. He thought it was a sound effect. I'm like, no, Austin, that's real roosters in the background. That's real.
Not everything is digital, boy. Something
exactly
actually exists in the world.
This is IRL, son, in real life, in real time. So I did that, but it was very exhausting, to say the least. But that was cool, but it was exhausting, And then the next episode was great. It was in the Comedy Store parking lot, and it was with Sharon Mahoney, and it was great because it's right there.
Oh yeah,
remember
I call her Sherman because when I met her, it was so loud that she was like, "I'm just Sherman," and I was like, "Okay, hi Sherman," and like I called her that for like 2 weeks.
Yeah,
and she's such a sweetheart of a human being that she just let me call her Sherman. She didn't correct me for like a couple of weeks, and then finally someone else called her Sharon, and I was like, "Is your name Sharon?" And she was like, "Yeah." I just felt bad. I didn't like feel bad,
It's me, Sherman. Yes, that was funny. And,
right, like every time she would introduce herself, she'd be like, "Hey, it's me, Sherman."
And I was gonna say that was great because she was she talked about being a street performer and traveling around the world and like making great cash, great money back, like when she was doing it full time like that. Like that's incredible, And I thought that was exciting. But it was pretty. I was saying I'm talking about the difficulty level. That was easy. It was like, oh, I'm already here.
Right.
Boom. Let me whip this. Basically a lavalier microphone out and just hold it and interview. And I'm like, that's easy. And then the next episode was...
Now, wait, you interviewed her, but not to cut you off, but you interviewed her in the Comedy Store parking lot?
Yes.
were there other comics around hanging out and stuff?
No, I went sort of in the back of the parking lot, over there by where the Comedy Store van is. So it's sort of,
yeah.
although a couple comics walked by, like Josh Adam Myers walked by the kitchen, and he popped on for a second to say hi, and
that's nice.
There was a little bit of that, but I was like, I didn't want it to be overrun with like too much music from the patio.
For the people who don't know, what show does he do at the Comedy Store?
He does a show, I think, once a month. I think it's called the Shindig Show.
Or wasn't it the goddamn Comedy Jam?
I think he does that, but he also does some other one called like Shindig or something. Or
okay.
Shimmy, the Shindig. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, the Shimmy. And, but yeah, it's like, it may as well plug the guy while, But,
yeah, have you ever done his show, or do you have any desire to do it?
I have not. I'm not very musically inclined. I appreciate music a lot, but I'm not, like, I used to do musical theater when I was a kid, but I don't think it really kind of fits what they do in that show. And so
I've only watched it a couple times, but am I right? Is it they do stand up and then a band plays them and then they do it like a karaoke song, basically?
Yeah, and it's a brilliant idea for a show, and they have a lot of fun doing it. But it's like, as a performer, I would have so much anxiety doing that.
Oh yeah, I mean,
it's not like that. It's kind of like how roast battle is, where it's like I can appreciate it as a comic, but it's just not my cup of tea. It's just something that it's like, I would have so much performance anxiety doing that.
Oh yes, especially because at least with karaoke you can read the words as you're singing, but like this you have to
right.
You got to catch the beat, and if you're not
like more like intense than that. Like if you have like a real band backing you, and you're reading lyrics, you just look like an idiot. I think,
right.
You're not going to look cool.
I saw Tiffany Haddish about 4 years ago just kill it. Did stand up, and then afterwards she sang "Proud Mary," and it was so freaking good.
Yeah,
she did the slow burn in the beginning, and then they turned it up, and it's like they started going on fast.
The old Ike and Tina Turner version where it's like
so
really
good.
Builds. That's such a great song too, and it's like if I had a song that I was like obsessed with performing live, that would be fun. But also it's like any of the songs that I really like that, when I sing them in my car, when it gets to the like high note, I crack.
Oh,
and it's like, I don't want to I don't want to do that.
You're pretty good at the Blues Traveler, though. I was really impressed how fast you just rambled those lyrics, like super fast. You like, you're pretty good at that.
Yeah, maybe something like that. Like if I could. It's funny, my dad plays really good harmonica. If I could like learn how to play harmonica enough to be passable, that might be something fun to do.
Yeah, that would blow their minds. Like because you do do you mind doing that really quick part?
No, I don't want to do that again. I don't want to do it again.
Okay.
Everyone listen to the old podcast because it's pretty good.
Yeah. He's not going to top that. You guys got to go back.
Yeah.
I don't even know what it is. I think he's saying Hook.
Yeah, that's what it was. That's the only Blues Traveler song that I know.
It was. Oh, really? You're sitting. I was so impressed because we were just randomly talking about it, and then out of nowhere, you just went do, and I was like, oh my gosh!
It was like a '90s song, and the video for it was so good because they were actually kind of. I don't know if you remember the video. It was a very like Dorothy Wizard of Oz themed video.
Yeah.
And the girl in it was smoking hot, but the band that was on stage singing wasn't Blues Traveler. It was like a fake band that they made up to look like the Counting Crows.
Yeah.
Because I guess they had kind of like a little bit of beef with them. They didn't like the Counting Crows. And so it was kind of funny to watch that because I really liked Counting Crows at that time, but I also liked these guys, and I was like, oh, that's funny that they're kind of busting their balls a little bit, for this. But I thought the lyrics to the song Hook were so great that, like, because it references Captain Hook and about, like, how like, a lot of it was about, like, deception and lying to the public to get them excited about what you're into and stuff like that. And I was like, that's a really interesting song, And then when he started like that really intense rapping, halfway through it, I was like, wow, this is great, And then they performed on David Letterman, and as a comedian, I was super, super into David Letterman's like late night and then the Late Show. I just thought he was like such a brilliant host, and doing it in a way that was kind of even before I knew about them fighting and everything, I thought he was like kind of the opposite of what Jay Leno was doing, where like nothing against Leno, but Leno was very positive and very like good to his guests,
Yeah.
and Letterman was a lot more prickly and standoffish. And
Yeah.
I really responded to that. I was like, it's funny that he's able to make that work.
Yeah.
That like he's actually doing his job the exact way you're not supposed to do it, and it's hilarious.
Yeah.
Like I remember him interviewing Mickey Rooney, and Mickey Rooney is laughing at something that he said and goes and puts his hand on Letterman's shoulder, and Letterman goes, "Please don't touch me." And Mickey Rooney like pulled his hand back immediately. It was like, "Oh God!" And that got a huge laugh from the audience. And I was like, "That's just hilarious that that someone is so like kind of off-putting."
Right.
In such a funny way.
Am I remembering this correctly? I want to say it was Big Brother. Maybe it was a different show. I think it was Big Brother. Whoever won would win. They'd do the Letterman show, but Letterman didn't even want them to sit next to him, so he'd make them stand far away.
Right, yeah.
And do the interview.
He reality shows. He had a lot of things that I really respected, too. Like, he never did an OJ joke while the trial was going on and stuff like that. And I read in like Rolling Stone interviewed him, and he was like, at the end of the day, it's joking about two people that have been murdered, and I just don't want to do that. And I really respected that, because at the same time, Leno was doing like, he had like dancing Judge Ito's.
Yeah, I remember that.
He kept doing that for like 15 years after the OJ trial. He was still like, let's bring out the dancing Ito's. And I was like, Jesus, man, it's like, let it go, but yeah. And Letterman's, I remember his very first guest was Bill Murray on Late Night with David Letterman, who came out and sang his own intro music, like Paul Schaefer.
Oh, cool.
Played Let's Get Physical, and he came out and sang and danced like Olivia Newton-John. And I was like, no one would let him do this on any other show.
Oh.
Like, he just let this guy go nuts on his show and really run with it. And he had like crazy bits, like Chris Elliott played like a lot of different things on the show. But my favorite thing that he would do is he played the guy who lived under the stairs of the audience.
Yeah.
And like the stairs would open up, and he'd come out and he'd be like, Dave, I love your show, and I really love everyone here, but if you guys could just keep it down just to a dull roar, that would really be great.
That's hilarious. Yeah.
And I was like, that's so funny to like kind of make fun of what they're doing, And the show would have on Thursdays, I think it was free canned ham night. And so if you came to see the show, you got a free canned ham, and they would show the audience like holding up their free canned hams that they had gotten. It was just such an interesting way of doing a show like that, and now that's like standard. Now it's like all this sort of stuff that he was doing back then is like, you better do that stuff at least to be interesting,
Right. I remember hearing Chris Elliott on the Gilbert Gottfried podcast, and I found out that he was the son of a comedian. His dad was part of the Bob and Ray team.
Oh yeah.
I did not know that, and I was like, wow, that's so cool.
Yeah, he's a really interesting guy, a really funny character actor too. And but everything that I found out about the show was like that. I just thought it was really good comedy, and it was like it was one of the people like representing my taste in comedy, I guess. But then when I found out like behind the scenes stuff, I liked it even more. Like, that little guy, Calvert DeForest?
Yeah. He played
Played
Larry Bud Melman.
Larry Bud Melman. Yeah, he had like
Yeah.
those big glasses and stuff. He was an actual postal worker, I think. Or no, he was a bus driver, I think, at the time. And they would just interview him like man on the street sort of stuff. And he was just this hilarious little old character guy. And it got back to Letterman that after a few interviews, they fired him because they were like, we have these union laws where we can't have one of our guys become a celebrity, and he's become wildly popular. And so they were like, well, then we'll hire him full time, and so they made him a part of the show because they felt so bad about him fired. And I was like, that's awesome. And it was like stuff like that where it was like, if you get into the business, that's kind of the way to be on any sort of stuff like that, try and do that kind of thing.
Oh yeah, he would make characters out of a lot. Remember, like Biff Henderson or those two.
The two guys that ran the bodega nearby them.
Yeah.
Mujibur and Sirajul.
Oh wow, you remember their names?
Yeah. They were on, and they when he did the CBS show, he had Sean Connery on as a guest, which was like such a huge get to have like Sean Connery come on a show. But when he had him on, he didn't just come on stage. He did a jetpack landing on stage. And it's like, they got Sean Connery to do this live, and he's like, flies in on a jetpack, and it was like a real functioning jetpack. And he's like in his 70s at the time. And he lands like it's nothing and just, comes over and does the interview. And when they cut to commercial, they go to Mujibur and Sirajul's store, and the jetpack is in the display window, and it has like a price sticker on it, like 1995.
That's hilarious.
Like that. It's like, what a great bit.
That's so funny. I was gonna say episode 278 without you was Doc Willis, who worked at the Comedy Store for 12 years.
I love Doc Willis. I found out, it broke my heart. Doc is not actually a doctor.
Oh,
he has no medical degree of any kind.
Dang it! I should have had you there with me. I didn't even ask that. I just I assumed he was a doc. But that was another easy gig because I brought the little lavalier microphone.
It kind of ties back around. Doc used to work the parking lot at the Comedy Store, which is one of the toughest jobs there. Parking all the different cars. It's like live high stakes Tetris, basically.
Totally.
And he was great at it, and he was a really, really gifted comedian too.
Gifted comedian, and he's gone on to bigger and better things. And but it was really interesting hearing his insight. Like, he was a bus driver for a while in LA, like for 3 months, as he was trying to make his way as a comedian. And you could only imagine the type of characters you're picking up on a bus here in LA.
Man, I'm sure he could write an amazing book about that if you wanted.
But my point to all of that, and this is just going to be a quick little throwaway in the intro, but we're already 28 minutes in, is I want to say how great it is to have you here, because you know what, man? It's number one, the setup is easy. I'm home, you're home. We don't have to meet. We don't have to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And also, it's like, my friend goes, who are you going to have on today? And I go, I'm going to talk with Mike Black. And I thought, you know what? Not only is Mike great at like taking the ball and running with it and improvising and being funny, talking, listening, acting, reacting, all that good stuff. I mean, if I have like 7 things I want to talk about, it'd be kind of weird to have a first time guest. Like, it's their very first time on the podcast. And I'm like, hey, before we start, and then I tell them some story about how I locked my keys in my car. And then I go into some other story about how you know what I mean? It's just like, but I'm
this
like,
is kind of similar though to what happened. I did a show during the pandemic that was just kind of to keep the balloon up. I was like, I feel like comedy, if you're a comedian, it's kind of it should be your job 24/7.
Yeah.
like even when you're not getting paid, if you're around someone else, especially if they're having like a bad day or something, you should be trying to lift the balloon up a little bit for them. And so I would do this show every day from my apartment just for everyone else who was in lockdown, called 1 Minute with, I think I called it like 1 Minute with Mike Black.
I like it.
And I would just do it. I got kind of burnt out after a while, but I did it for a long time. But one day, just I had Stephen Kramer Glickman, who's hilarious, as a guest. And what I did was I was like, you guys, big fans of 1 Minute with Mike Black. I'm so excited. We have our first celebrity guest of the show. You may know him from Big Time Rush, where he played Gustavo Rock. You may know him from the albums that he's put out, or Giant Creature Productions, or Super Fans. He's done all this amazing stuff. Now you can catch him on Cameo, and he'll do like birthday messages for you. He was also originated the Shrek role on Broadway. Ladies and gentlemen, Stephen Kramer Glickman. And he goes, hi, everybody. And I go, and we're out of time. Thank you. And he was like, that's it. And then I was like, I just rolled credits over him going, that's it.
Yeah, that's hilarious. By the way, two things. If you guys don't, if you know what Cameo is, I'm also available on Cameo. So
to Cameo,
you got hire me on Cameo. I do a personal celebrity shout out to you. I'll do. I love my women. I'll do some of that. I'll beatbox. I'll say whatever you want to do. I'll give you a little pep talk. And the second thing is if you ever get,
I wonder, is Cameo on Cameo?
Oh, the group? Oh, yeah.
Because that would be a slam dunk.
A word up. Hey, it's Cameo on Cameo. Word up.
Yeah, if you act now for the next 24 hours, Darren will do his Cameo impression.
Yeah. Or you could pay $10,000 and have Snoop Dogg, or I'll do it for a rock bottom price. Wow, happy Mother's Day, y'all. Ooh, wait, Mother's Day coming up. Ooh, da-da-da-da-da. You know.
So you'll do it for half that.
Exactly. No, I'll do it for like $30. I don't care. What was I going to say? Oh, yeah, if you ever get burnt out on your 1 minute with Mike, just cut it back to 30 seconds.
Right, yeah. It's too much. I'm scaling back.
This is driving me. No, it's a lot. It is a lot of, like, I know 1 minute sounds crazy, but you got to, like, it's easy the first, I'm sure, 20 episodes. And then eventually you're like, I got to switch. Yeah,
when you're alone in your apartment, it gets kind of, like, depressing after. But I think the thing that I was proudest of that I did was, you know, that it's a supposedly like a fact that you can't eat 5 saltine crackers in under a minute. Like, or you can't eat them within a minute and fully swallow them and everything, because there's so much salt in them that your body just can't do it. And so I was like, well, my show's a minute long, I'm gonna do it. And so I did it. I actually was able to do it.
Oh no.
And the trick to that, for those of you, because I know people are going to hear that and go, I can do that.
Right.
You probably can't. Just to manage your expectations, it is very, very difficult. But the trick that I did was get a mouth completely full of saliva before you start. And then you have a chance of being able to do it. For me, I did it at like 59 and a half seconds.
Oh, wow.
So I was able to do it, but it's one of those things that sounds much, much easier than it actually is.
That's funny. It's funny because I you know what I did during the I'll never forget. I went physical with it. I did 400 push-ups on the 4th of July.
Wow.
I'm like, I'm gonna do it, you guys. I did. It was actually fun making the video and doing it, and people were kind of cheering me on, and it was actually pretty cool.
That's a lot better than making pumpkin bread, which a lot of people did.
Oh yeah,
they were like, understand that obsession.
I know. I was
like, I wouldn't like this if I wasn't in lockdown. I would hate pumpkin bread either way.
Exactly.
You know who did something really cool though? Sir Patrick Stewart.
Oh, what did he do?
Star Trek and the X-Men. He he said, and he held to it. He was like, I'm going to read a sonnet from
Oh,
Shakespeare
that's right.
every day until this is over. And of course, it lasted well past he ran out of sonnets. But like there was like 2 days where he was like, "Oh, I have to shoot something for Picard or something like that." So he didn't do it, but he got Sir Ian McKellen to do it for him. And
Oh,
it was
wow.
like, it was just really cool. It was like such a neat thing to have that to look forward to during that time, to just be like, "Oh, I'm going to hear a Shakespeare sonnet from one of the coolest actors in the world every
Wow.
day." You know? That was one of my favorite things that someone did during that time.
You know, it's interesting when you said sonnet. This reminds me of I was listening to the radio and they were talking about some wild Bible verse. It's the Song of Solomon 7:2, and I'm like, well, how wild could it be, dude?
Yeah.
This is pretty wild. Like in the Bible, this is pretty sexy.
Uh-huh.
Listen to this. It says,
Get ready, everybody.
"Get ready, y'all." All right, this is and there's different versions of the Bible, like obviously like the King James version. This is from the New International Version. It says,
You guys put on some Kenny G.
I know, yeah. All right, yeah, and watch the toaster strudel, if you know what I mean. Here we go. Yeah. It says, "Your navel is a rounded goblet that never lacks blended wine. Your waist is a mound of wheat encircled by lilies."
Wow.
Yeah. Here's the New Living Translation. "Your navel is perfectly formed like a goblet filled with mixed wine. Between your thighs lies a mound of wheat bordered with lilies."
Damn, that is good Bible.
That is some good Bible, right? Yeah. I'm telling you, even the King James Version. Okay, let's. "Your navel is a rounded goblet. It lacks no blended beverage. Your waist is a heap of wheat set about with lilies." So basically, it's the same thing over and over. And then one of them got really like, listen to this. "How beautiful are your sandaled feet, O daughter of the prince. The curves of your thighs are like jewels, the handiwork of a master. Your breasts are like two fawns, twins of a gazelle." Dude, this is like, I want to go to church right now.
There's did you ever watch the show Firefly?
No.
It's a really cool science fiction show
Yeah.
about like a space pirate, basically. But there are no aliens. They just, when they go to other worlds, it's other worlds that have been colonized by humans and stuff. But they go to this one planet, and this guy goes to a dance and just dances with a pretty girl there, and she like puts a wreath on her own head, and then she puts a wreath on his head. And he's like, this is great. This girl's really cool and everything. And so the dance is finished and everyone's just cheering for them. And he's like, wow, they really love dancing here. And someone there tells him, is like, oh, it's so great that you chose her. And he's like, yeah, she's great. And he's like, no, I mean, now that she's your wife. And he's like, what? And he's like, well, you danced with the maiden, and that's the tradition here. She's your wife. And so he's like, oh, I don't really want a wife, or, that's cool. And then he goes, no, but she's saved herself. She chose you when she saw you, and she loves you. And like, she's a hard worker, and they're like pitching her and everything. And so he goes, he's like, I'm going to go let her down easy. And she goes, are you sure you don't want to be my husband? The Bible says that I'm a field to be tended. And as she's talking, like her breasts are heaving, and she's like got this beautiful red hair and like these big, beautiful eyes. And she's like telling him this Bible verse about how the man will lay with the woman and stuff like that. And he's like, I mean, I could try it out, I guess.
Dude, that sounds funny. And plus, I'll skip over the top part of this Bible verse.
You know what?
Yeah.
To sell you on the show completely, it's basically Little House in space.
Ooh.
It's a Little House on the Prairie in space.
Ooh, I like that.
It's really nothing like that at all. But
Yeah. You're like, it's too exciting to be like Little House.
I'm just going to, any show that I sell you on, I'm just going to say it's like Little House on the Prairie with robots.
Some prison movie. It's like Little House if they were locked up. No, it's like,
right. Have very strict rules.
Yeah. Listen to this, and I won't be too long on this, but listen. Your breasts are like two fawns, like twin fawns of a gazelle. Your neck is like an ivory tower. Your eyes are like the pools of Heshbon by the gate of Bath Rabbim. Your nose is like the Tower of Lebanon, looking right, looking toward Damascus. It just goes on and on. It gets, and then towards the end, may your breasts be like clusters of grapes on the vine, the fragrance of your breath be like apples, and your mouth like the best wine.
Do not tell any girl that her nose is like the Tower of Lebanon today. You're not going to get the same response as you would back then.
Yeah, I know. Your boobs are like the Twin Towers.
Yeah, that's no.
Ooh,
not
no,
at all.
ooh. I know. Are there any towers? Are there any?
Not erotic at all.
Is there anything in LA? Any landmarks like your buttocks is like the Griffith Observatory?
that makes no sense whatsoever.
I'm just picturing like it's like a like a kind of a ball shaped type thing.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah. Just comparing women to different landmarks doesn't always work.
It doesn't really translate to 2023.
Your hips remind me of the Starbucks on La Cienega.
Your curves are like the Laurel Canyon Drive.
Rock and Roll Ralph's.
Rock and Roll Ralph's.
Everyone's been inside it.
Ooh. Between your legs is like the Santa Monica Pier.
Right, yeah.
It's quite the tourist attraction.
It's like the LA River. It's very dry, and it's not really a river at all.
Ooh, it's dry. Yeah. And gangbangers love to do graffiti in it.
Yeah, there's a lot of graffiti, a lot of wear and tear in that area.
Your buttocks.
The mayor keeps saying he's going to do something about it, but he won't.
He won't. Yeah, it's not an election year.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. Okay, so I was going to tell you, I went to see one of my favorite comedians who I've got to know is Tom Dreesen. 61 appearances of The Tonight Show.
The legendary Tom Dreesen.
He opened for Frank Sinatra, I want to say 14 years. He's just done a lot. And a lot of stuff, it's funny, guys will tell you tall tales or whatever it could be because there's no proof, like, oh, I did this, I did that. And then it's great because with Tom, he would do a marathon in Chicago and raise money. And, and we're used to people our age or whatever, and they say these stories, and you're kind of like, there's that part of you is like, is this guy bullshitting me? Is my bullshit meter going off? But with Tom, it's great. I'd go to the internet and I'd look it up, and boom, there it is. He's doing, he would have Smokey Robinson and these people like doing this fundraiser for him. I saw a video with him and Frank Sinatra. Frank Sinatra's on a what do you call it? A bicycle, a stationary bike. And he's next. They did like a promo for it, and he's like, I'm getting tired on this stationary bike, Tom. You go ahead and do the marathon without me. And it was really cool. And so what Tom does is he does a lot, but one of the things that he does, and I think it's great, is he does not charge, and he gives back, and he does like sort of a motivational talk to comedians, because this business can be very difficult. And he goes, we talk about physical fitness, but we don't talk about being mentally fit, and you have to be mentally fit during the hills and the valleys of life and show business. And it was great to go to that. I went there a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a misnomer that you kind of have to be a little bit crazy to be in entertainment. It's like that can get you so far.
Yeah.
But now it's like it really is more of a marathon than a sprint. And if you don't have your mental health, it makes a very difficult job much, much harder,
Yeah, absolutely. I noticed about 5 years ago, there was 4 comedians at the Comedy Store. We were in the hallway. It was on a Monday night. We're waiting for those spots to go up on Monday to work out. And I noticed these guys used to be sort of like on the depressed side or more down. And then one day they were all kind of up. And I thought, what changed? And one of the things that changed was they had all started a podcast around the same time, like individually. And and I remember talking to another buddy of mine after I started mine. And he goes, you know what? Part of what that is rather than, as a comedian, rather than just waiting around for your spot that night, now you're giving yourself something to do. And you're creating a support system. Like you're uploading the podcast, and then people are maybe messaging. Well, number one, you're being busy. You're giving yourself something to do, and you're being creative, and you're So that right there is going to help you. And then also you do get that support system of people, they'll write you and be like, hey, great episode. I like when you guys talked about German foreign exchange students or whatever it is. And
you can't be passive in this industry. You have to be active. I remember Marlon Wayans telling this great story about how him and his brother were sitting playing video games on the couch, and his older brother Keenan was going off to do In Living Color, and he stops and he looks at them and he goes, you guys want to be in entertainment too, right? And they're like, yeah, we really want to be in entertainment. And he goes, you know that what you're doing is not the answer. And they're like, what do you mean? He goes, if you're waiting for someone from Hollywood to come knock on that door with two amazing roles for two young black men, you have a long wait. You need to start writing and start coming. And so they immediately started going to work and worked on Scary Movie.
Wow.
And that is what kind of gave them the kick in the ass they needed to do that. But it's so 100% true. You know, if you're just waiting for someone to knock on your door and give you the role of a lifetime or the opportunity of a lifetime, it's never going to happen.
It's almost like when you're just waiting, you know, your car breaks down and you have you're hitchhiking or you're just waving at cars. People will drive right by you. But if you start pushing the car, I mean, you know, people will jump out, oh, let me help, you know. And I noticed the same thing. I put up a video recently, and I think you did the same thing. And the Comedy Store like shared it, and it was like, wow, that's so cool. Like they, you know what I mean? They're not going to go through my vault and find a video and upload. No, that ain't going to happen. But if I put it out there, they're like, oh, cool, let's share it. And the next thing you know, it got thousands of views, and I'm like, thank you, Comedy Store.
Yeah, it's a much bigger resource, you know, and they're like seeing, oh, this guy's putting a lot of work into what he's doing. Let's actually help him out. He's going to be playing here, so it helps us, you know.
Right. I was going to ask you. I filmed you Monday at the Comedy Store. You had a great set. Were you able to? Are you going to?
Yeah, thank you for doing that. What's funny is either you did it or I did it when I looked at it, but somehow the entire set was in slow-mo.
No.
And so I looked. Well, I looked at the content thing. It's okay. I was able to fix it. Just long story short, I was able to fix it. But when I looked at the tape, I was like, wow, I really ran the light more than I thought I did, because it was like a 48-minute segment.
Oh, no.
I was like, oh, no, they're never going to let me come back if I did 48 minutes. I was like, it did not feel like 48 minutes. And then I'd play it, and I was like, I was like, oh, no. And so I edited it. And
could you speed it up and save it? Could you?
Yeah, I just changed the speed to normal speed. It had been at like half speed or something like, something like that.
Oh, good. So the sound and everything works once you sped it up. Oh, good.
Yeah, it was great. It was a really good quality, really good tape, but it was realistically it was like 8 minutes. But
good. Oh my gosh, you made me. Yeah,
it was like 48 minutes. I was like, oh my God, what did I do?
Because I remember at first we were like, hey, let's put the camera in the back of the room on that, and I'm like, nah, it's not zooming in enough, and then it makes it all washed out. So I go, hey, do you mind? I'll just sit in the crowd. So I basically sat in the third row in the middle of the audience.
We share a problem that if you're a bald white dude, and there's bright stage lights on, your face gets completely washed out because of that, you know. So, you know, you have to stand in certain areas and in certain ways to read on stage, you know.
Totally. Otherwise, it looks like clothes and then just like this piece of paper up there talking.
It's floating head, like shirt or whatever, you know.
Oh, that's good. And, man, I was going to tell you, now you know this because you were there with me, but you guys, get this. I locked my keys in my car. Somehow I had all the windows up. I put I think it's the day, it was the day that I went to see Tom Dreesen talk at 5 o'clock. So
Yeah.
I got there early, and the
I
car.
think Tom might have done that himself to make sure that he stayed through the whole thing.
Exactly. He locks everyone's keys in the car. What do you know? Nobody left. No. Nobody. Yeah, that's one way to motivate us. No.
I'll have a ride home.
So I remember that particular day, the car lot guy goes, "Hey, can you leave your keys in your car just in case I have to move it?" And I said, "No problem." So that's why the keys were in the car, and I used the remote to pop the trunk, and I grabbed something out, grabbed my jacket, and I shut the trunk. And then when I was getting ready to leave that night, I'm like, "Wait a second, I can't get in." Oh no! So yeah, and I called AAA, and it was like
it was kind of funny, like everyone watching you wait there in the lot for the AAA guy.
It was
Like, well, we don't want him to get mugged or anything because the place is closed.
I know. Speaking of mentally,
Like a room full of grown men.
yeah.
You get into your car, and we're all waiting for like a guy who has actual skills to show up.
I know, right? None of us have like Slim Jims and tools, and it was funny because speaking of mentally fit, I thought, you know what, Darren, like this. I know it feels weird because now AAA will text you, and it said the such and such towing company will be there, and they gave the date for the next day, but only because it was like past midnight. But they were like, they'll be arriving on Tuesday at 1:23 a.m. and I'm like, oh my gosh. So I basically it was going to be about 90 minutes to 2 hours to wait, and that's when I thought, you know what, it's two ways to don't stress out. This is the best place to break down and have your keys locked in at a comedy club. So I went back in and I enjoyed this comedy show as I was waiting for this tow truck. I was having some laughs and being positive and doing what Tom Dreesen wanted.
Yeah. You really took those lessons to heart. I think though.
This is great, you guys. This is great.
It is. I think Tom would be upset because I think the first thing he says in his seminar is, "Whatever you do, don't lock your keys in your car."
Yeah, I was. And so then so the tow truck guy comes, and it was interesting. He had a huge truck, man. I was surprised it fit back there, and
Yeah.
he goes ID please, and I showed him my ID. He goes, it's going to be about 5 minutes. And that's pretty much all we spoke. He didn't say anything else. I didn't even have to show him my AAA card, nothing. Maybe because they know because of the phone, but dude,
I remember you standing next to me watching him, and kind of you were like, "I hope he doesn't break my window." I was like, "He's a professional. It'll be fine."
I know, man. It was weird. It was like you almost feel violated because it's like, okay, I know I'm paying this man to break into my car, but like, and you do want to get the door open, but part of you is like, is my car that easy to break into?
Yep. Yeah. Anytime I've dealt with a locksmith and they get it done in like 15 seconds or whatever, it's like, oh no, I am not secure enough,
Yeah, it was, I mean, yeah, he like had some kind of suction thing and pulled something back and slipped the thing in and grabbed and then, dude, it was easy. I was like, it was really like, whoa, I'm feeling violated, but thank you, sir. Like, this is like, do you look or do you avert your eyes?
Yeah, I watch just because it's an interesting thing to see how they do it, and it's like, and also like, I find it kind of reassuring because I look at it and it's like, oh, there's no way I would have been able to do this without breaking my car window. Like all the stuff that he's having to do, even though he's doing it very quickly.
Yeah.
The tools and everything that he's having to use to do this, I would not have been able to do it without like doing real damage to the car. So I'm glad I called them instead.
Yeah, like somebody goes, hey, maybe they have like a Slim Jim in the office. I'm like, nah, let's just get the pro to do it.
Yeah,
I could picture them kind of pushing too hard on the window, and now it's not aligned anymore.
Yeah, there's certain things you just don't want to trust another comedian to handle for you.
Yeah, especially if they have no skin in the game. They're just like, oh, sorry.
Your taxes is a good example.
Right.
Don't let a comedian do your taxes.
Oh, dude, when I first moved to LA, there's this comedian named Rudy Moreno. He books a lot of shows. He's like, hey, you should use my tax accountant guy. Maybe you got a discount for everyone he referred. And it was definitely, it was really cool. It was in Boyle Heights. It was in the hood. And the tax guy's name was Captain Carnitas. That's the name. Captain Carnitas. Well, I don't know what his real name was, but everyone referred.
Put on forms.
Yeah, Captain Carnitas. Dude, it was hilarious because it was at his house. And there was a a full mariachi band that was coming in next. They were they were like the hour after me, and the guy was like, this is back when I first moved to LA, and you're not making any money anyways. And the guy was like, "Hey man, do you like have any dependents?" And I was like, "Not really." And he goes, "You never got a chick pregnant?" I was like, "No." And he's like, "You don't have maybe like a cousin or someone you kind of help out, maybe financially, maybe, kind of someone you kind of depend." And I'm like, "No." Like he was trying to show me all these loopholes.
Yeah.
And it was very helpful, but then after that, I think I went legit and just got like a real tax person.
Someone who's not asking you sketchy questions.
Yeah. I was like, he's like, "Yeah, you could write this off, write that off, right?" And then I got the legit person. They were like, "Yeah, don't do that because it's a lot of red flags." And then like more years went by, and then I got married, and then my wife was like, no, we're just, we're doing, she was raised right, yeah.
One thing I remember about Boyle Heights is they have, I used to jokingly call it the Edward James Olmos Memorial Applebee's, because there's an Applebee's there that I guess he stopped in there one day and had a drink or something, but there was a thing on the wall. It's not there anymore, but it was very much there. That was a framed picture, autographed picture of Edward James Olmos with a bunch of like different movie posters of movies he'd been in around it, and under glass, it and the glass said, "Applebee's salutes Edward James Olmos," but it didn't explain why, like just him and nobody else.
Yeah, we salute him.
Yeah, and I was like, this is so crazy that this is in here, because it was like the only thing like that, And so I asked one of the bartenders, and I was like, "What's the deal with Edward James Olmos?" And they're like, "That was here before I got here. Nobody knows."
Was he in Blood In, Blood Out or something?
I don't know. He was in Blade Runner. He was in Battlestar Galactica. What was the movie about the calculus teacher?
Oh yeah, that teacher was like a badass teacher.
Yeah. So he's done a ton of stuff, but it was just like such a weird thing to just pick one person, and just like I could see if there's like a wall of fame of like celebrity guests at Applebee's, but I guess they were just like no other celebrity ever came in except him. So it was like, we're just gonna have one wall dedicated to Edward James Olmos, and everyone's just gonna have to come up with their own story for it.
I wonder what movie. Yeah, I don't know. I thought maybe he was in like some. I'm thinking of Danny Trejo. Maybe that's what it was.
Oh, probably. Yeah. They're the similar type, like for casting and stuff, And Danny Trejo, he's such an interesting cat. He's an ex-con, and he worked with another ex-con to write like his big break movie, and they wrote it at the Pantry in downtown LA. And I was lucky enough to interview him on the nighttime show with Stephen Glickman, and when we were talking to him, he was like, "Yeah, the great thing about the Pantry is the food is amazing." And we were both ex-cons, and while we would eat, we would always plan, like, okay, if we had to rob this place, how would we do it? And we came up with a bunch of, like, really good strategies, but then we remembered, if we rob this place, we can't ever eat here again. So he was like, the food was so good that it saved them.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, that's such a cool story.
That's funny. By the way, Edward James Olmos, he was in American Me. I was thinking Blood In, Blood Out. It's American Me. That's what it was. That's the gangster type movie. And then Stand and Deliver before that. And
Stand and Deliver. Yeah, that's a terrific movie.
That's funny. I'm like, I know there's like a East LA type of vibe connected with him. Stand and Deliver, American Me, Selena. And you're like, no, he was in Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah.
He was.
Well, yeah, he was. He was like, he was the main guy. He played the part that Lauren Green played in the original. And in Blade Runner, he was terrific. He was like this, like Harrison Ford's competitor in that job, and he spoke like in the future, like all languages have just evolved to like a basic like city speak.
Yeah.
And so it was, and he would do like origami just as a hobby, but it was like, it was also a sign that he'd been there if you found like a thing, and it was like He was really cool in that movie. I don't know if I'd devote a whole wall to Applebee's to him, but he was really
Yeah, I know.
you know.
That's funny. Yeah, I remember when I would see Drew Carey a lot at Bob's Big Boy in Burbank.
Yeah.
It was like he was like there all the time. Like he was more
Like he's there all the time. Jay Leno's there all the time. They don't have a wall.
right.
You know?
Yeah. Oh, I had another thing I was going to tell you that happened with the car. So about a week later, I noticed there was a little bit of wear and tear on the tires. I'm like, oh no, I better take it to tire shop early Saturday morning.
Yeah.
And even though I just had one tire replaced, but I thought, man, they said the tires are good, but maybe there's something wrong,
Right.
And so I took it into this tire shop, and believe it or not, the lady looks at it and she goes, "Yeah, this is normal wear and tear. You should be good for another year or two." And I was like,
Wow.
"Are you sure?" She goes, "Oh yeah, that's just from hitting the brakes, and like that's very common." She goes, "But the thread, it looks fine." And I'm like, "Okay." And so that was good news. It was one of those days where I was like, well, I'm probably gonna have to drop my car off and pick it up tomorrow. And, because the whole parking lot was full of cars. I couldn't even park there. I had to park on the street. So that was actually good news.
Give them a shout out. Which place was it?
That was Mountain View Tires in Burbank on
That's
Magnolia.
very good.
Yeah, they're great. Anytime I've gone there, it's they've been just great. They've fixed windshield wipers for me, replaced headlights. Like sometimes not even charge me. By the way,
That's a lot better. Sometimes you go to a tire place and you're like, I have a feeling as soon as these guys are done for the day, they go and just scatter broken glass and bolts and stuff on the streets.
Right. We fix
Get more
windshields. Yeah, and then we also let loose gravel fly from our pickup beds.
Right. There are places that just have that sort of vibe. They're like,
I know.
They're like, it's a standard. We sell you 2 tires. The standard $750 a tire. That's just what they cost now.
Oh yeah, there was another tire, that place that I got it fixed in Bakersfield. The guy he was cool there too, because that was an emergency. I had to get it fixed. And then the guy goes, "Yeah, you're good with just the one tire." He goes, "The other ones look good." And he goes, "Sometimes tire shops might try to talk in, oh, you got to get them all replaced. That way it's even." He goes, "That's not true. As long as you rotate them, you're fine." And I was like, "Oh, cool." So that made me feel good. And then of course, the one in Burbank was great like that. And then I started almost
shout out
yeah.
the guys in my neighborhood, Bonanza Tires, who the first time I dealt with them, I had like a flat, and they had me in and out in 10 minutes, and it was like a full-on bad puncture, and they fixed it, and the whole thing, I was like, wow, what do I owe you guys? And they're like, oh, that's $5. I was like,
wow.
So some places are really legit. You just gotta look at Yelp and kind of, if they have a low review, kind of weed out and see if it's crazy people.
Right.
But if they have a high review, chances are they're pretty good.
Yeah, that's really good. Mike, I was going to ask you, have you checked out the new McDonald's menu?
No, has there been a development?
I think so. I think they try to pimp up their burgers a little bit. They're like, we're going to pimp that burger. And I believe they now sell McDonald's Big Mac sauce, and you can put it on other burgers. But I'm not sure if it's just if you use the app.
This sounds like something that's right up your alley. Now, if only they would do that with ketchup.
Oh yeah.
If they just sold a big bottle of ketchup at McDonald's.
Yeah, I thought that was like breaking news that you'd know about. Let me see, McDonald's news. I googled McDonald's news. It's not. I
do have kind of a pet peeve, not just with McDonald's, but with just about any place.
Yeah.
Where if you order a large French fry, like a big, humongous thing of French fries, and they give you 2 ketchup packets, I will drive back around and go, no, wrong answer. I have basically 4 potatoes here, and you've given me 2 packets of ketchup. That's not going to be enough.
Yeah, it's like, come on. You know what I mean?
I do.
I don't like that at all. Okay, here we go. McDonald's has outlined 4 changes to its burgers. The Big Mac will have more sauce.
We're going to start using real meat.
Say what?
We're going to start using real meat.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. Big Mac will have more sauce.
Okay.
The cheese will be melty.
Right.
The onions will be added to the patties on the grill rather than being added after cooking.
That makes sense.
Burger buns are changing to become softer, and each will be toasted lightly brown.
Oh, okay. I'm down with all of these changes.
Yeah, and I watched a video last night where they talked about having you could get the McDonald's Big Mac sauce.
Yeah, and like for a Big Mac, for those who are more health conscious, I guess, it has, unlike most burgers, it has 3 buns, like 3 layers of bread. So it does get pretty dry unless there's like some extra sauce on there.
I think if you're hungry, it sounds like the Big Mac would be the way to go, but I think the Quarter Pounder is probably more filling, right?
I think the Quarter Pounder probably has more meat, but I'm not sure.
It just
But
seems like
I always get Big Mac, but it's like it's just an easy combo, you know.
I mean, if I'm gonna do a burger, I much prefer In-N-Out. That's my favorite.
Yeah, I would much rather have like a double at In-N-Out than a Big Mac because it doesn't have as much bread, and they're a lot more receptive to you customizing at In-N-Out. I feel like, you know.
Yeah, they sure are. Well, listen, it's almost lunchtime, and
Now you're hungry.
I know. I listen, man. I gotta lose weight. I'm on a. Lately, I've been noticing where I'm like, I'm not able to do as many pull-ups. I'm starting to like, I tied my shoe the other night. I'm like, man, listen, I'm not going to go into details, but I'm not where I need to be, and I'm gonna have lunch with a friend, and I was looking forward to getting a burger, but I got on the scale today, and I'm like, nah, Darren, I'm gonna get the salad instead. I'm gonna get a Greek salad, and I'm gonna add salmon. I'm gonna do it. Maybe I'll do the burger next week. Why not, right?
Yeah. What's one more week?
More week? Just do it, and I got to be a grown up about stuff because I've been doing some late night bad stuff where I'm like, oh, I'm gonna raid the fridge again. I got to stop doing that. I got to not do that, man.
Yeah, it's affecting your mental faculties. You're locking your keys in the car. And all
Exactly. I'm like, what am I doing? Yeah, yeah. Oh my god!
All that junk food has gone to your head.
Yeah, I know. I got to be honest though. When I was watching that video yesterday, I'm like, oh, Big Mac sauce. But see, I'm gonna wait till I lose some weight before I delve into trying that stuff. It's like,
yeah.
Otherwise, it ain't good, buddy. I got to be mentally fit and physically fit. Physically fit. Do you know what? And I'll say something. This is interesting. With seeing Tom Dreesen talk, and talking about like let's say you have and think of your mind as a garden. You have a negative thought, you pluck out that weed and you replace it with a positive thought. And so, here's a guy that's been around for, I don't know how old he is. Let's just say 80. I don't know though. And he's been up and down and all around and just working and not work, whatever I would imagine. And he's learned how to deal with it. And I like being around. When I see Tom Dreesen, I like him. I like hearing him on podcasts. I like seeing him. Very positive. Sure. I saw an old school comedian come the week before, and he doesn't get spots there. He's an old school comedian. He has a cane, and he's fairly young. I mean, relative, a lot younger than Tom Dreesen. He's probably in his early 60s, I would imagine. And this guy was a bitter comedian, and I don't even know how funny he was back in the day, but I'm a nice guy.
I've never even heard of such a thing.
Exactly. I'm a nice guy, so he always gravitates towards me, the guy with the cane. And he started pointing out comedians' headshots in the lobby at the Comedy Store. And he's like, that guy was a hack. He's dead. He had a lucky break. That guy had one shot on the Tonight Show, never went back. This guy, he was just like, and I thought, man, that's, I don't want to be like that guy. I want to be, what I mean?
Right, yeah.
I thought that'd be something interesting they could do at the Comedy Store next year. Have like Tom Dreesen in the OR where it was totally sold out. It was packed. Have that, and then you have the counterpoint, like in the main room, have like all these old, like negative, bitter guys, and then grab comedians in groups of 10 and take them upstairs to the belly room and be like, listen, if you're lucky, you'll end up in your 60s, 70s, and 80s. Which guy do you want? Which guy do you want to be like? You know?
Yeah, I personally don't want either of those options.
You don't want to be. Yeah.
I don't want to be. Okay, I don't want to be the old bitter comedian, but I also don't want to be like pumping up the next generation with positive energy and stuff, because I don't care enough about them for that. Like, what I want at that age is to be left alone. I just want to be in my apartment watching movies and stuff. I don't want to be out, telling everyone how bad it was or how good it was. They'll know just based off my life.
Yeah. You don't want to be the guy? Oh, maybe I'll be the guy in the OR giving romantic Bible quotes and reading.
Yeah. I do not want to see the audience that turns up for that.
Oh gosh, I know. Anyways, Mike, it was great hanging with you, man. It's always great hanging with you. And you guys, thanks for spending part of your day with us on the Pocket Party Podcast. Go follow Mike Black on all social media. And,
at Mike Black is back on everything. And I'll be at the Comedy Store on Friday. So come check me out.
Beautiful. I'll be there. I'm going to be in the main room Saturday night at the Comedy Store. So come by the late show. And like I said, if you can, you guys, give it a review on iTunes. It really helps out that algorithm on Apple Podcasts. And just share the episode and give it 5 stars.
Ratings, likes, all that stuff. It all helps. It all really, really helps. And it doesn't cost you a penny.
It sure doesn't. All right, Mike. Hey, have a great day, buddy. I'll catch you soon.
You too, brother.
See you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Look at you. You made it all the way through. That was fun. I did 100 push-ups today. That felt good. And I'll probably do a few more right now. So I'm good on the physical fitness part, but the eating is what I got to stop doing. I got to stop coming home late at night and popping tortillas and melted cheese in the microwave or whatever, shredded cheese, because that's like not good. Anyways, I'm talking out loud. But maybe you're on that same journey with me. Maybe we could go on a weight loss journey together. It's mind over matter. Otherwise, we getting fatter. Man, that was a good little rap. All right, guys. I'm available on Cameo. Not kidding. Go there. I feel like Biden. Not a joke. I'm available. Not a joke. I'm on Cameo, TikTok, YouTube. As you know, YouTube. Like, subscribe, share the link. And that's it, buddy. We'll see you soon. Thanks again for helping us, for joining us on part of your day. And don't hurt nobody. Be careful.
Everybody listen to Darren Carter. We all know he's the party starter. So if you want to listen to a podcast for free, then listen to the Pocket Party.